While all of this is going on, somebody needs to run the main AC, or what they call feeder cable. That's probably the stage guy or the monitor guy starts doing that. After all the gear gets in, you're actually like, each person has different tasks that's going on at the same time. Then you want to, and when I say initial setup, this is where like kind of all three people and the stagehands are all working together. You need to stack the PA because it's a task in a big show. It could take half an hour for 12 guys to stack the PA system. And then you want to set up the front of house mixing board and the monitor boards, because that takes about, remember that board last week, takes at least 6 or 8 people just to physically get it to where it needs to go. So that's where all the guys go to stack the PA, all 12 of your stagehands, and then all your guys go to front of house to stack that mixing board, and then all the guys go to the monitor lane. And then after that point is where you start breaking things off, where each one of the 3 guys, the front of house monitor and stage guy, will grab 3 or 4 people and then go from there. Next thing you do is you start placing the racks. Okay, so the front of house guy, what his tasks are after that is he'll run the AC to the amp racks. Then you want to run the speaker cables after the racks are placed. I like to put things in layers, AC down first, then speaker cables down next, and then the patch cables on top of that. And it's for 2 reasons. One is because the stuff on the bottom can get stepped on and get trampled on. It's a little heavier gauge. It's thicker. Speaker cables maybe a little bit less thicker than AC cables. And then multi-cable or microphone cables a little bit lighter, and you want it on top. Especially when you're pulling it out, you want to do it in reverse order as well. After you patch your amp racks, you want to head out and run your snake cable. The snake can consist of AC to front of house, and it has a 40 or 56 pair or 32 pair, whatever your size of your show is. And then it has return snake as well that carries all of your audio signals back to your PA amplifiers. And if you have the crossover at front of house, that cable could be a 12-pair cable running, left and right, high mid, low mid, lows, and subs. So you could see where 12 pairs of cables just to return back to the stage could be taken up very quickly. Then the front of house guy, again, the yellow indicates where you can get some help patching or running some of this stuff. But the red stuff indicates that the front of house guy pretty much wants to patch his own AC to each of his racks, wants to patch his own snake, patch his drive rack, patch his process rack. And then after all that's patched, you want to test signal to all the front of house speakers. I think I mentioned last week, or I don't know if I did or not, where you might use pink noise just to send to each component to make sure every single component's working. I would do that. I would send pink noise, and I would just turn on the high frequency. And I would start with high frequencies first, because if I'm sending a high frequency signal into a low frequency speaker, what happens? First of all, it sounds really weird, but you don't blow up any components. But if by accident on your crossover you turn a low frequency up first and you're sending it into a high frequency driver, you can take it out very quickly. So I always start unmuting the crossover by listening to the high frequency first. So it'll just be the high frequency component of that. And then if it sounds appropriate, and you'll know if this is your own speaker system or you worked with it over time, you'll know right off the bat if that frequency is being sent to the right speakers or not, because you'll know that the highs will have that really crisp sound, and then when you unmute the low, it'll be that more really mid-rangey sound, and then the subwoofers will just be that low earth rumble kind of sound. After you just make sure that every component works, you don't have to physically walk in front of each speaker and test them. Sometimes I do, but you can just tell, again, over time, you'll know that it either sounds like the proper amount of mid-range or low-end or whatever, or it doesn't. Like if you took out all the high frequency on one side of this thing, you would know that because you put this up and then you tested left and then you tested right. And you would hear it on one side and you wouldn't on the other. And it's like, uh-oh. You go back on the stage and check everything out. After you've made sure every component physically works, which could take quite a while sometimes, could take half an hour, if you have bad speaker cables, or some of these speaker cables have to be inserted and rotated to make a connection. Some of them fall out, and just everything. Then you start EQing the PA. After you EQ the PA, hopefully everybody's ready to do a line check of all the inputs, which is just with your headphones. Just make sure that every single microphone on stage or every single input is getting to you, minus buzzes.